Welcome back to the Deep South Experiment. This is where we explore muscle building, fat loss, and mindset. In this episode 11 of our Strength versus Hypertrophy series, we're putting a key topic that is often misunderstood under the microscope, and that is the relationship between strength and technique. We all know strength is crucial to lifting, but is it really the most important thing to focus on in your training? Or does perfecting your form and technique unlock even more power and sheer brute force? What happens when you focus on strength without considering your form? And how much can technique actually improve your hypertrophy gains? So a good few interesting questions there. Let's unpack all of that and get stuck into it. Let's kick things off with a question. And that is, can you really be strong if your technique is poor? Many lifters fall into the trap thinking that just because they can lift heavy, they must have got it all figured out. But here's the thing, that without proper technique, your strength is limited by how well you can move and control the weight. Imagine a power lifter doing a deadlift with poor form. Sure, they might be able to pull a massive weight off the floor, but at what cost? Are they truly maximizing their potential for strength? Or are they just brute forcing their way through it, perhaps risking injury and leaving gains on the table? And strength is more than just lifting weight. It's about how you lift that weight. And technique. It's the key to unlocking strength in a sustainable, injury-free way. Let's take a practical example around this. If you're bench pressing but your elbows flare out too much, it shifts more tension onto your shoulders than your chest, reducing the potential for gains in the muscle that you're trying to target. That's why technique isn't just a nice to have, it is really foundational. Without it, your strength can't reach its full potential, and your hypertrophy gains will suffer as well. When your form is dialed in, and you're progressively overloading safely and effectively, targeting muscles much more effectively, that is where strength meets hypertrophy. So what happens when you start prioritizing technique? When we focus on perfecting every rep and every set? It leads to more consistent progress. If you think about it, when your form is rock solid, you reduce the risk of injury and you ensure that you're hitting the right muscle groups. It allows you to push yourself harder, which is a key factor in muscle building. And here's the thing, quite a fascinating thing, is that you could be lifting less weight than the guy next to you. But if your training form is better, you're probably going to get more muscle growth and definitely more longevity in your training. That's why we're seeing more and more athletes shifting their focus from just maxing out as much weight as they can to prioritizing the quality of their reps. It's not about who can lift the heaviest. It's about who can lift the smartest. But let's take this one step further. What happens when strength and technique work in harmony? When we blend the perfect form of progressive overload, it opens the door to both strength and hypertrophy gains. You're not just getting stronger, you're growing new muscle. And here's where the lines blur. Because once you understand how to manipulate your training technique for growth, the world of hypertrophy training just opens right up. So let me ask you this. What if your training style is holding you back from getting stronger because you've been focusing on adding weight and sacrificing your technique in the process? Have you ever thought about how much technique impacts hypertrophy potential? And here's something to keep in mind for the next episode, where we're going to explore what really happens during hypertrophy. I'll break down some of the science behind why you're probably not seeing as much growth as you expect, even if your strength numbers are climbing. Before we wrap up today's episode, let me leave you with this. Strength and hypertrophy are two separate goals, but they're two sides of the same coin. But how much are you focusing on technique to unlock both? That's the big question, and we'll dive deeper into this in the next episode of the Deep South Experiment. So stay tuned for episode 12, some of the mysteries behind hypertrophy training. We'll uncover some of the reasons why it's not as straightforward as you might perhaps think. Thanks very much for listening. Like and subscribe if this has been of value to you and you don't want to miss future episodes. And I'll see you in the next one.